Hello, class of 2019. This is Mrs. Everett, and I am coming to you to do a brief financial aid 101 for all of our graduating seniors and their families. This is designed just to give you an overview of basic financial aid available in colleges. So if you have never applied for college financial aid before or even looked into it, this will give you some good pieces of information to help you be prepared as you enter the financial aid process this fall and upcoming spring. So in our meeting, I'm going to briefly go over college costs, explain what financial aid is, the different types of aid that a student may receive, who's eligible, and how a student applies and completes the forms, and when students apply. So this is just like a brief overview of basic financial aid processes. Now, college costs are very interesting that you'll want to pay attention from. The COA is your cost of attendance. This includes both direct and indirect costs. Direct costs are those that include tuition and fees. Indirect costs are things such as books, food, transportation, housing, and like a computer or software. Every school and university is now required to have a net price calculator available. You can use this to calculate the net price of a college attendance, and it helps you analyze your budget. So this is a requirement from every institution, and the financial aid office of the institution you're planning on attending will have this available on their website. If you can't find it, I would reach out to the college of your choice and ask them to direct you on where you can find that. Now, what is financial aid? Financial aid is defined as aid provided by the federal, state, institution, or private resources. This is money helpful to pay for college. Federal aid includes funding such as Pell Grants, student loans, and federal work study, while state financial aid offers a variety of state-funded scholarships and grants that are administered by the FLDOE and the Office of Financial Aid, and it's subject to change every year based upon your legislative session. Institutional aid is provided by the university or your post-secondary institution, and it's offered directly from them through endowments and other scholarship programs. Private resources include a variety of scholarships from various groups such as local employers, national organizations, and community groups. So you'll see up here that scholarships, they are free money and that require some skill or achievement. The Bright Future Scholarship is a program in the state of Florida funded by the Florida Lottery, and it is subject to federal legislative funding. Grants is free money, usually requiring financial need, but not all grants require financial need. Some do and some don't. Loans are obviously money that must be paid back. Employment is an opportunity to earn money for college expenses. Institutional aid, again, as I mentioned, is money given by the institution that may require a separate application. Now, for example, there are waivers. Waivers are typically provided to specific types of students. And so like students that were in the Florida foster care system, for example, or adopted from the Florida foster care system, do have a tuition waiver. That is for students who were adopted after the age of 8, a minority or a part of a sibling group, or have some type of special need and were adopted from foster care. They have a state of Florida tuition waiver, which means they can attend a Florida college or university, and the tuition is waived. There are other types of waivers out there, but again, this isn't money that's provided to them. It's that the fees are waived or the tuition is waived. So types of aid we're going to talk about first is scholarships, and as I mentioned before, scholarships should be free and they are not fee-based. So if you are applying for a scholarship and it is requiring some type of application fee, I would encourage you to steer away from that. True scholarships do not have application fees. If you are wanting to look for private scholarships, I would encourage you to use one of these two websites. They are reputable websites. One is bigfuture.collegeboard.org, and it has a free scholarship search tool, which is really great, and so does fastweb.com. These are like the Google of scholarships. So check in on those, spend some time investigating private scholarships through there. The Bright Future Scholarship, again, and we've talked about this multiple times throughout your course at SCA, and I met with all of the SCA seniors and talked with them about the Bright Future Scholarship in depth. There are two levels of the scholarship, the Florida Academic Scholars Program and the Florida Medallion Scholars Program, and you can see the eligibility that is required there as far as SAT and ACT scores. They are also to have a 3.0 or 3.5 GPA, and they do have a community service requirement. And how it is funded, you'll see this chart right here, is that the Florida Academic Scholars pays 100% tuition at a state university or community college, and $300 towards books, while the Florida Medallion Scholars funds by the credit hour. It pays $77 a credit hour at a four-year university, and $63 a credit hour towards an associate's degree at a community college. And it does fund technical centers as well. But that is how the funding is distributed at Bright Futures. Once the student earns the scholarship, the money is distributed directly from Bright Futures to the university or college. It does not go through you. The funding transfers directly from the state to the university or college in Florida that the student attends. Grants is free money, and it's usually based upon financial need, but not always. The Pell Grant's a federal grant that does not have to be repaid. It's awarded usually only to undergraduate students who have not earned a bachelor's degree or previous professional degree. The maximum yearly amount that is awarded is based upon the student's EFC, and I'm going to talk about that. That's the estimated family contribution. The maximum amount of a Pell Grant a student can receive is 600%, meaning that they can receive a full Pell Grant for up to 6 years as a full-time student. And the Pell Grant amount is different from year to year, but it can be as much as $6,000 to $8,000 depending upon need. Other grants is the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant. This grant is awarded to students in need of financial aid. It is a type of federal grant that does not need to be repaid as well. The FSAG is a Florida grant, the Florida Student Assistant Grant, and it is a financial aid program funded by the state of Florida, available to students who meet all the eligibility required and demonstrate a substantial financial need. So that's, again, another type of grant based upon financial need. Then the Florida Effective Access to Student Education Grant, also known as the EASE. This was formerly called the FRAG. This provides tuition assistance to Florida undergraduate students attending an eligible private and not-for-profit college or university. There is no financial need required. It is based solely upon Florida residency. And the Florida Access to Better Learning and Education Grant, the ABLE grant, it provides tuition assistance to Florida undergraduate students enrolled in degree programs at eligible private Florida colleges or universities. These are the for-profit universities that are private. They're both awarded about equally. They're about $3,500 a year for 4 years, so $3,500 each year. Again, that changes based upon funding every year, but it has been about $3,500, and it's just based solely upon Florida residency. So no financial need required for those two. And again, if you attend a private university or college, these applications will be a part of their financial aid package that you complete later on in January or February with the university or college. Now, loans. This is money that must be paid back. There are federal loans, the Federal Direct Student Loan Program and the Parent Plus Loan Program. These are programs have income limits. The annual loan maximum limit for a dependent, a freshman is $5,500, sophomores are $6,500. If they are an independent student, meaning they have no family connection, they could take a loan for up to $9,500 as a freshman or $10,500 as a sophomore. Other loans, we have the Stafford Loans. These come from the government, and which are a form of the federal financial aid program and help undergraduate and graduate students pay for their education. There are two types of loans, Stafford loans. You have the subsidized loan. This is when the government pays the interest for the student while they're enrolled in college or universities. The unsubsidized loans are interest accrues upon disbursement Yet payment may be deferred during periods of at least half-time enrollment, meaning they do accrue interest during the time that they're in college, but they do not have to pay or make any loan payments until after they graduate or after their enrollment in college drops below half-time. Other loans, we have the Parent Plus loan. This is for parents of dependent students and for graduate or professional students. This loan helps pay the education expenses up to the cost of attendance minus other financial assistance. Interest is charged during all periods for this loan. There's also private loans that are offered by private institutes such as banks and credit unions where you can take loans out that way. And obviously, interest is accrued during the time of the loan. Employment aid, this is an opportunity to earn money for college expenses. There is the Federal Work Study Program, FWS. This provides jobs for undergraduate and graduate students with financial need to earn money to help pay educational expenses. Federal Work Study, these jobs are typically on-campus jobs that are funded through the Work Study Program. So they would have to apply for those jobs and be awarded work study money based upon when they get those, when they are given that job on campus or another place, but they are mostly on campus. Waivers and reimbursements, again, these are some of the things that I talked about. Different institutions offer students the opportunity to have their tuition waived for different things. Some employers offer their employees, spouses, or dependents of reimbursement of funds spent to attend an institution of higher learning. So that would be something you would look into with your parents. You would look into with your employer if they offer any assistance or contribution or reimbursement. And also, the state of Florida does have a tuition reimbursement program. If you are teaching in a Florida school and you commit to teach for 5 years, they will reimburse or pay off student debt for that. So if you're looking into education and you have to take out loans for your education, you can look into teaching in a public school, but it is a 5-year commitment and it is typically at Title I schools. So you can look into that with the state of Florida if you're interested in those programs. And then there are also state waivers based upon need as well. As I previously discussed, for example, in Florida, we have tuition waivers for students who were adopted from the Florida foster care system. So who is eligible to receive federal aid? You must meet certain criteria. Obviously, in order to earn this aid, you must be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. You must have a valid Social Security number. If you are a male 18 to 25, you must be registered with the Selective Service. This is the draft. And some people opt not to apply for federal aid because they do not wish for their child or the child does not wish to register for Selective Service. Must have a high school diploma or equivalent, such as a GED. You must be enrolled or interested in enrollment as a regular student working towards a degree or certificate in an eligible program at a school that participates in federal student aid programs. So you will want to reach out to your college or university and make sure that they participate in federal student aid programs before applying for federal student aid. And the student cannot have a drug conviction or offense that occurred while they were receiving federal student aid, such as grants, loans, or work study. So how does one apply for federal aid? This is the FAFSA, the free application for for federal student aid, and a standard form. This is a standard form that collects all your demographic and financial information about the student and the family. And it is filed electronically. It is also available in English and Spanish, but this must be filed electronically with FAFSA. This form should be filled out annually by the current and anticipating college students, both graduate and undergraduate, in the United States, and determine their eligibility for federal student aid. The family's financial aid information is required to calculate the student's expected family contribution. This is your EFC, expected family contribution, and you will receive a student aid report, also known as the SAR, and this will give you the EFC number. It will explain how it came to your contribution number. So you will file this electronically at FAFSA, FAFSA.ed.gov. So you will need to go there, parent and student, in order to complete this. Please avoid using any websites, consultants, planners, or services that charge money to apply for financial aid. If you end up at a website that's asking you to pay a fee in order to file your FAFSA, you're probably at the wrong place. So make sure that you go to the correct website. And there's a lot of phishing websites out there, so make sure you go to the correct website. It's a .gov website. And we always encourage you to file early. That's really important. In case there's any issues, there's time to take care of it. So what is the expected family contribution, the EFC number? This is the amount a family can reasonably be expected to contribute. So this is what the government identifies as your reasonable contribution to your child's education. The EFC stays the same regardless of the college you attend. So it does not vary from college to college. It's the same no matter what. There are two components of your EFC. It's the parent contribution and also the student contribution to your financial situation. This is calculated using the FAFSA data and a federal formula. So all of the information that you will enter into your FAFSA application will be added into a federal formula, and the result will be your EFC. So before you start your FAFSA, it is really important that you gather all of your documents, your social security number, both parents and students, driver's license, student and parents as well, recent W-2 forms and other records of money earned, that's for parents and students, your student's most recent federal tax return, if they filed one, and the parent's most recent federal tax income return, if you filed one. For parents, this is for dependent students. So all students that have probably graduated from SCA are probably more than likely what we would consider a dependent student. You need to have copies of your most recent untaxed income records. And also, if you are a permanent resident or have alien registration number, if you're not a U.S. citizen, you need to have that paperwork as well. So when completing the FAFSA, there are a couple of different accounts you will need to create and passwords you will need to have. So I recommend that you get a notebook and a secure place that you can write all of these down because, like I said, you'll have multiple accounts and multiple things you'll need to link. So you'll want to definitely keep track of all of your usernames and passwords as you work through the FAFSA process. The first thing is your personal identification number. This is known as your PIN. Students and parents need to obtain an FSA ID. So both parents and students. So you'll have 2 separate PINs or 3 separate PINs depending upon how you're filling out the FAFSA. And you will need to go to the Federal Student Aid ID website to apply. And this is the link here. Also, it will be on your FAFSA when you go to start the process. It will ask you to go ahead and create your PIN number, and it will be linked there as well. Your FSA ID is important because it will be used to electronically sign your federal student aid documents. It will also allow you to access personal records and make binding legal obligations. So this is a really important PIN number that you will need to have. So again, make sure that you've written that down, you've saved it, have that notebook of all your usernames, passwords, and documents. So who completes the form? The federal government believes that is the parent and student responsibility to pay for college. Therefore, parent and student information is required. For divorce or separation situations, the parent with whom the student resides completes the form. So whoever has full custody or the majority custody of the student will complete this form. Or in cases of split custody, whoever claims them on their tax return as a dependent. Or it is a joint custody situation, the parent who provides the most support completes the form. Is the student dependent or independent? These are the questions that are used to determine if a student is independent. If the student was born before 1995 If they're married, if at the beginning of the 18-19 school year, they will be working on a master or a doctorate program. If they are currently active or serving in the U.S. Armed Forces, or if they're a veteran. If they do not meet any of these requirements, they are going to be considered a dependent student. So it doesn't matter if they're 21 or 22 years old, if they are not meeting one of these 5 criteria, they are considered dependent, and the parent information is going to be required. For the FAFSA, the 1920 FAFSA, you will need your 2017 tax information. That is what will be used to complete the FAFSA. And so 1920 means the student will be attending college in either fall of 19, spring of 19, or summer of 20. The application, again, is available at fafsa.ed.gov. And that's where they will complete that application. It is quite a lengthy process, so please make sure you've blocked out enough time to take care of it. Some of the questions can be a little confusing, so I have provided a step-by-step video of how to fill out the FAFSA, and I have linked it on our guidance website under Senior Financial Aid Resources. I've also provided it in the financial aid email that I've sent out to all seniors and their parents. So you can watch that. This is put out by the Florida Department of Financial Aid, and they do a step-by-step going through the entire FAFSA form, explaining how to answer each question. So this is a really great video to have. I would encourage you to maybe pull it up on your phone, and as you're working on the FAFSA on your computer, you can pause and play it as you go throughout each step of the FAFSA to make sure that you have all of the questions answered appropriately. Now I'm going to move on to Florida State Aid. This is called the FFAA. So there's lots of F and A's in the acronyms used in financial aid. So this is the Florida Financial Aid application. The FAFSA is federal, FFAA is Florida State Aid. This is the application that is used for Florida Bright Futures and other Florida merit or need-based aid. The FFAA may need to be complete in conjunction with the FAFSA in order to determine eligibility for certain financial aid programs in the state of Florida. So just be aware of that. The FAFSA is not used for Bright Futures, so you don't have to worry about FAFSA for Bright Futures. The only application you need to fill out for Bright Futures is the FFAA. It is far less involved in the FAFSA. It should only take you about 15 or 20 minutes in order to complete. So if let me go back to the FFAA for a second and just let you know that the FFAA application, I do have a video that I go through step by step in the FFAA for you on how to complete that. Again, like I said, it should only take you 15 or 20 minutes. It is not a very long application, but you can use that video as well to help make sure you're answering all the questions appropriately on that application. Now moving on to secondary financial aid through the university or college. Some colleges do have an institution need-based aid and merit-based aid applications, or a specific scholarship application for specific programs. So colleges will distribute their own forms to you. Typically in January or February, your college or university will open up their financial aid applications. This is another set of applications that you must complete, and this will determine whether you are eligible for any merit aid based upon grades and test scores, or community service or essays that may come from the college, or any need-based aid as well. So you'll just want to be prepared for those to open up sometime in January. But I would encourage you to contact the financial aid office at the college or university you're planning on attending to make sure that you have all of those deadlines and are ready to complete the application. So lastly, as we wrap up this session, I want to give you some important dates. The 2019-2020 FAFSA opened up on October 1st. And you can feel free to go ahead and start that at any time. It stays open through the summer. The FFAA Bright Futures application opens up on October 1st as well. This is what I would encourage you to complete as soon as possible, because this application does require that SCA go in and add your students' grades, test scores, and community service hours. So the longer you delay in completing the FFAA, the longer it will be before SCA can report all of this information to the state of Florida. So I would encourage you to do this one as soon as possible. And again, as I mentioned before, college and university financial aid applications open up between January and March of 2019. But to go ahead and contact your financial aid office for specific deadlines. So as I wrap up, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation. You can always feel free to go back through and re-listen and look at the slides for any of the specific financial aid information. I am not a financial aid counselor. I am a school counselor, but I'm always happy to share with you my knowledge and experience. But if you do have very specific or unique questions to your financial situation, I would encourage you to reach out to the financial aid counselors at the college or university you're planning on attending, or your student is planning on attending, and they can answer those very specific questions for you based upon their experience and their university and college policies. I wish you luck as you endeavor upon this financial aid process, and I'm here to help and support in any way possible. Have a great day.